Philip Rothwell is enjoying another very fruitful campaign, and Racing TV's Don McLean went out to see the Wicklow trainer to discuss what has been a fantastic few years for his ever-growing stable.
For the last 4 or 5 years, we've been really on an upward curve. The last 3 seasons have been amazing. They've way surpassed expectations of where we were maybe 5 years ago. So a hugely ambitious team of people working with me, and I'd like to think that I've helped put those people there, but in reality a lot of it fell together, and I'm just delighted to be captaining the ship at the moment, and it's great.
You mentioned Tiernan, like winning the Conditional Riders Championship. You seem to get a particularly big kick out of that. I think you sought him out, didn't you? You thought he was good value for his claim before that?
Yeah, we felt that the year previous to Tiernan coming, I felt we'd had quite a few winners in handicaps, and that's very difficult because the horses' ratings go up, and rightly so. But as their ratings go up, it becomes harder to achieve. So it was a bridge year for me where basically we were developing the yard, trying to increase the standard of horses, but needed to keep winners coming. And when the ratings have gone up, there was really no way of counteracting that other than to try source somebody who could be top class as a £7 claiming conditional. And I had asked Tiernan on a number of occasions, and he was a little bit slow about it. Funnily enough, I'd say self-confidence wise at the time wasn't massively high. And when he started race riding for the first 3 months, I'd say his own self-confidence wasn't hugely high. Right. But that's changed dramatically, and his race riding, I think, speaks for itself. And not only does his race riding speak, but his mannerism in dealing with owners, feedback. He's hugely mature, and he's a great guy to have around the place.
You mentioned there the development of the yard. We saw it outside here earlier on. Lots of development going on in gallops, and you're putting in some Astro paddocks as well, or Astro barns. Yeah,
so I love visiting other yards. I love trying to learn. I love trying to better ourselves. When I go to Cheltenham each year, I usually try to do a yard visit. So I've been lucky enough to go to Nicky Henderson's, to John Joe O'Neill's, to some fantastic yards in the UK to see different things. But also in Ireland, fine trainers are wonderful, especially if you speak to people, like to go and see different places. So recently, Gordon Elliott, I went up to visit Gordon's yard, which is fantastic. It's state of the art, and it's lovely to see. I think it was maybe 7 or 8 years since I've been there before. So his yard has gone from a small yard then to a village now, I suppose, isn't it? Like it's incredible. I think I wanted to see hurdles down on a schooling gallop, and he said to me, drive down and have a look at them. And I was thinking, sure, would I walk down? I'm glad he said drive down. It was
fair old hike.
Fair hike, yeah, and to see around. But people are hugely accommodating, and it was lovely to see that. And then another day I went to see a new AstroTurf facility that Gavin Cromwell stables some of his horses on, and I was particularly taken by that. So we were hoping to expand a small amount at home, and our turnout paddocks were getting very muckied with the weather coming into the winter. So we decided that we would, as part of the development in the last number of months, that we would put up an AstroTurf facility to stable some horses on as well, which means that our 15 or 20 turnout paddocks are always available there for turnout.
And back in the late 90s, was it you started training?
Yeah.
You've always been trying to kind of upgrade quality.
Yeah, well, I suppose we fell behind for a little while. I kind of branded myself cheap and cheerful starting off, and because I went out with that brand, and then we were buying a lot of very cheap horses, and still do, it probably gets into people's mindsets that that's what we do, small syndicates into lesser grade handicaps and whatever, but that's not really where I want to be. It's just, I think at the moment there is a niche there for me, in the sense that with the number of horses that I have a lot of time to give to my owners. So I can explain what's happening at home, I can let them know where their horses are going, I can have a good relationship with my owners. And I think we're on a very progressive road now, whereby the people that I get on very well with from an ownership perspective, we're growing the idea of trying to increase the quality of horses. And it's really only in the last 3 or 4 years that I have understood the importance of owners as people the staff as people and having the right people around me. And I think that's been a huge help, and that's the road we're going to take going forward, and very comfortable with it.
There were some barren years, weren't there, like the kind of late teens?
There was a number of circumstances. People said, like, maybe horse is sick or whatever. I suppose I got started quite young. I started training race horses when I was 21. By the time I was 25, I probably was way too arrogant and self-confident, and believed we could win with anything. And with that belief, then you'd hold on to horses that you probably shouldn't have held on to for a while. But that's experience, I guess. And then we went from there to downturn in economy. With the downturn in the economy, I had a horse that was third in an Irish Grand National as a 6-year-old. He passed away with a heart attack. I had probably the best young horse I've ever had in my life. Broke his hind leg on the gallop. All happened within the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And then I lost Mr. O'Leary's business that year. We had an issue with feed at home as well. And there was 3 or 4 things happened all together. And with that, we went from it, we'd only maybe 30, 35, 40 horses in training at that stage anyway. So we went from that to down to about 15 horses in training, a mortgage, a very young family.
How did you survive that? How did you manage to get through all of that?
Bloody hard work. Got involved in a fast food takeaway into town. Used to work in that at night, and then back in the yard in the morning. Sold a lease in that. Took on a lease in a pub. Sold my lease in that, and got through the lean years. And then very good family support, and just worked bloody hard. Worked really hard ourselves. But through it, always believed, that we were young, and we were going forward, and the horses loved racing horses and just wanted to make things better. And thankfully now, over the last 6 or 7 years, the yard has grown to be quite strong, and as I say, the team of people around me has grown. And do you know what, the mistakes that we made when I started, I was very young, and my parents are extremely supportive and they're very good to me. The one thing about my dad would be he'd let me make my own mistakes, and that's very positive going forward, and I'd hope but there's also a negative element to it, in the sense that I wouldn't have had support from somebody who had been in my trade before. So not much guidance, and made plenty of mistakes. But I think for that, I've learned an awful lot over the last maybe 15 years. And as I say, the position we put ourselves in now is really strong going forward. So hopefully all the mistakes are behind me, and it's and yeah, we're in a good position going forward. But really enjoying it. I love jumps racing. I'm very passionate about it in Ireland. I think everybody knows that. Absolutely adore my horses. Love jumps racing, and just very fortunate to have the owners and the staff I have.
And was there a quantum leap that turned it around? Because you went from single figures to 42 winners in 2023, I think, 24.
Yeah, but we went from single figures from very small pocket of horses. So we had to build the horses again. So back to the same thing again. No money, young family, mortgage, going to the sales, buying horses for €500 to €1,000, to syndicate them, to put it together, to grow the whole thing, to get it back going again. You start with nothing. You get down, you fight dirty, and you get going again. When I started off with 3 converted chicken sheds and 3 converted cattle sheds in my dad's yard, after being in Aidan O'Brien's when he was champion jumps trainer. So that's where we started. So it wasn't frightening to go back to do that all over again, because that's where we started. Yes, I've wonderful support, but literally we started at the very bottom, and because it grew quite quickly, I suppose I probably just wasn't ready for it in hindsight when you look back. And as I say, some of the decisions we made, they were just the wrong ones at the time. And then, as I said, there was a huge amount of things then, economy and different things at different times. But for all of that, racing has been very good to me and my family, and I wouldn't change any of it.
Watch live racing now on racingtv.com.